My God. Made it to Friday. I'm so excited. This is like my first weekend off in what feels like forever. So let's bring in the weekend with a really interesting video, guys, because I'm going through the legal documents. And what do we get? We get an alternate perpetrator document. Release the names already. Just release the names. Guys, I'm old and I've been true criming, hashtag sleuthing, hashtag whatever you want to call it, for a very long time, like at least 2 decades. And this is one of very few cases where every legal document is sealed. It's like driving me a little bit insane, okay? So I am going to wait a couple of minutes for you guys to just join me in the chat. By the way, if you are in the chat, talk to me, babe. It's Friday. And it's going to be one of those videos that triggers a lot of people because I want to talk about what the narrative doesn't want to talk about, which is what? The narrative doesn't want to talk about statistics. The narrative doesn't want to talk about mathematics. The narrative does not want to talk about data science. The narrative wants a juicy story that's going to get clicks. I don't want a juicy story. Okay. My life is a juicy story. I don't need a juicy story. All we need here is to put the actual perpetrators behind a jail cell, because that's literally what true justice is, babe. Okay. That's true justice. That's real justice. Oh my gosh, who's the first one? Christina? Oh no, Eminem, hey, or I don't know. I see a lot of number ones and number twos. Hello guys, hi Christina, hi Eminem. Who was first? Fight. Fight for it. I'm just kidding, don't fight. Hi Blazing Asian. So before I get into the chat, thank you guys, welcome. Let's just talk to it because you guys know my ADHD is raging and I'm definitely not medicated. I am very caffeinated. So I'm gonna pull up my notes here before I get too distracted. And I have a lot of issues. If you have been following here, if you've been supporting the channel, I think we're close to like 2,000 subs already. So thank you guys for joining. Now, we're going to talk data. We're going to talk statistics because at the end of the day, evidence, statistics is what matters, okay? It's not what gets your little heart all emotional. We need to be able to set our emotions aside so that we can see, we can think clearly, we can be objective regarding this case. Let's talk about the evidence against Mr. Bryan Kohberger. Reminder, this case is not yet making any sense, but a lot of information has not yet been released to us, of course. There is a gag order. So while we go through this, remember, these are my opinions, my theories, my speculations. Feel free to disagree. You're not going to hurt my feelings, babe. Now, I know I get accused often of being a pro-burger when in reality, I don't have a horse in this race. It doesn't matter to me who goes to jail, so long as the right person goes to jail. And the right person in this case would be the assailant or assailants, with an S at the end, involved in the IDAHO4. Now, we don't actually have a timeline for any of the victims after 2 a.m. Nobody is talking about the lack of timeline. Yesterday's live, we slightly covered that. We slightly covered some of the inconsistencies regarding Dylan Morrison's statements, with her having to try to call a driver at 1:50 something while supposedly everybody was already home, and then again at 2:10, right? So we don't have a timeline yet for any of the victims after 2 a.m. We only have a suggested time of passing away that has been shared by law enforcement. But in reality, we actually need to look at the autopsy reports to have a true timeline, right? Now, for me, the biggest thing is that no one, literally no one, is talking about the footprints or lack thereof with all the red fluid. How are they not talking about that? On top of that, we have discussed the Dateline episode here in depth, right? And Dateline is going to do what most news channels do, what most social media does, and that's, again, create a juicy story for clicks, for dollars. And it is my opinion that Dateline is creating this false narrative, which is very, very problematic. They turned this case into a whole episode suggesting that this crime is all about sex. Hi, Lori, I see you waving. And they made it appear that Mr. Brian Kohberger was some sort of enraged sex monster who did this for the thrill and blah, blah, blah. But again, makes for a juicy story, but when we are thinking objectively, there's zero evidence to support this theory. When you have this type of crime, of this sex, enraged monster type of crime, you're going to see a lot of body fluids. You're going to see a lot of DNA. It's not the IDAHO4. It never looks like this, right? Now, let's talk about the evidence, the actual evidence, right? So we have DNA on the snap button of the sheath. Please go watch my video. I will try to share in the comments. I will try to pin one of the videos that I made where I'm showing you my very own personal military K-bar from back when I was in the military. And as you go through that video that I will pin in the comments, let me know what you think, because I have gone through this in detail. I have shown you my K-bar, I've shown you my sheath, and if there is one thing that doesn't make any sense to me, is the DNA on the snap button of the sheath. When you look at this sheath close up, you see a lot of seams, you see a lot of thread, you see a lot of areas where DNA could get caught. But here, it is just magically found on only the snap button of the sheath. Almost statistically impossible to only have DNA that was inside the snap button of the sheath. Why? Because there's so many areas, threading, leather, whatever, where this could get caught. And on top of that, remember, Mr. Brian Kohberger has mentioned, well, indirectly through his lawyers, that he is vegan. So why would a vegan have a leather sheath? Is it possible? Is it impossible? I don't know. I am also vegan, but I don't throw my vegan goods away. I haven't thrown my sheath away, right? So I don't know. But the lack of DNA on the rest of the sheath, how did that happen? Again, for me, it's statistically impossible. It's looking a lot like it could be planted. Now, bear with me because I will get to the end of that. I know when I mention planted DNA, people immediately lose their mind. I lose them, right? Now, the other evidence is the white Elantra. The white Elantra that took the cops however many tries, however many times they had to change the car to say it was a white Elantra of that year. They kept changing the year. And actually, a lot of us now believe that the car they keep saying is Mr. Kohberger's car is actually the neighbor's green Elantra. Okay, and I've shown you guys the green Elantra. This doesn't mean that the neighbor was or was not involved. It's just saying that there's footage of the neighbor's car. And remember, for those who still think this is Brian Kohberger's car, check that Indiana stop video, then compare. Okay, it is not the same car as seen near 1122 King Road. Then as far as evidence goes, we also have, this is not evidence, but some people claim that it is evidence. It is Dylan's statement of the bushy brows. But a friendly reminder, Mrs. or Miss or Mr., I don't know, Dylan Mortensen admitted she was blackout drunk. So can we even believe her description? Is it possible she did not even see a man with that description, but she instead could have possibly created a story? Remember, they had a whole 8 hours to come up with a suitable story. And there was a shoe print, right? The fancy shoe print right in front of Dylan's bedroom door that matched to a Vans tennis shoe. A Vans tennis shoe. Okay, this is not a shoe that somebody who prepared for this horrific unaliving would wear. A Vans tennis shoe? You're telling me that guilters think that Mr. Kohberger committed this crime, wore a hazmat suit, wore this, wore that, but then they don't have an explanation for the Vans tennis shoe. Oh, interesting. Dylan and Bethany's lack of a story has poked so many holes regarding credibility. The loss of red fluid makes it statistically impossible that there was not even a trace of DNA found on Kohberger, found on Kohberger's belongings, or his vehicle. Okay, it's not adding up. And he may not be innocent. He may be innocent. But unfortunately, the extremely botched investigation lacks evidence. It lacks transparency. We have all seen that video of the cops tossing Maddie's jacket aside. And when you watch that video slowly, you might see something different. Let me know in the chat, let me know in the comments, but it looks like the cops are pulling something out of the pocket of that coat of Maddie, or the coat that Maddie was wearing that evening that was found on top of the fire hydrant. Let me know in the comments, let me know in the chat. Does it appear to you that the cops pulled something out of the coat pockets and then put it in their own pockets? Are they hiding something? And if they did that, what is it that they're hiding? Now, I have always believed that this was a crime of passion. The probability that this was a targeted attack, targeted not just 1122, but targeted one or two of the girls is very, very high. I have mentioned statistics and people don't like it. When we have crimes that are this violent, this gory, yes, it could be due to rugs. I hate saying that, by the way. It could be due to rugs, but when we look at crimes committed by boyfriends, spouses, lovers, jealous lovers, they look a lot like the crime that we have seen at 1122 King Road. And statistically, crimes like this are usually committed by men towards women they know, unfortunately, right? And it's also very unfortunate that the rest of the victims could have just happened to be casualties. They were at the wrong place at the wrong time, and maybe somebody was not expecting Ethan or Xana to be there. And evidence also suggests that there was more than one assailant. I'm curious, if you are a guilter, what are your thoughts on the two unknown males? Of course, they're not going to give us everything. That information, yes, is going to have to wait until trial, but I have my thoughts on the boyfriends or somebody that one or two of the victims could have been seeing, could have been having maybe a secret relationship with this. And sure, we could look at Jack, we could look at whoever, but we also have to look outside of that. Again, yes, it's very tempting to look at the boyfriend. Statistically, it's the boyfriend, but there could also be other lovers involved. And I have theorized, this is a theory, this is my theory about Eric Gower, the private driver. Married, pregnant wife, has ties to Moscow Police Department, very close ties to Moscow Police Department. He often volunteers for Moscow Police Department. He often plays Santa for Moscow Police Department. Not to mention, I personally found his Pinterest extremely grotesque. I personally found his stalking comments, sharing coordinates of other females on Facebook, very grotesque. And we have to consider other alternate perpetrators. Why Although the guilters do not want us to look in this direction because it's not a juicy story, it gets to be a little bit too convoluted. Statistically, it's very possible that whomever targeted one or two of the girls were male. So, don't have too much time today. Please vote if you guys are in here. Please vote in the comments. Please vote in the chat. Please leave a 1 if you think that other people were involved. Hence the defense suggesting in a currently sealed legal document, it's titled Offer of Proof, Alternate Perpetrators. I'm assuming that in that legal document titled Alternate Perpetrators, that they probably have a list of alternate perpetrators, right? And if you don't think that that is possible, if you think that Mr. Brian Koberger is guilty as sin, that's the go-to line. If you think he's guilty as sin, if you think all the evidence points to him, leave a number 2. Personally, I find it extremely alarming how many people have blind faith in our criminal justice system and how many people want Mr. Koberger guilty and executed like yesterday. It's very problematic, it's very concerning for we the people, we the American people. So please vote in the chat. I'm going to pull up the chat to talk to you guys for a little bit before I head out. Let's talk boyfriends. Let's talk boyfriends. And again, these girls were beautiful. Maddie's boyfriend at the memorial said that she knew she was beautiful. They're young, they're dating. A lot of people, a lot of girls, a lot of young men who are dating are not only dating one person. Could she have been dating somebody else? Could she have been dating somebody who was married? Could anybody have been dating somebody who was already married? Maybe had some sort of secret relationship. You just don't know. But when I think back to what Mr. Gonsalves said in the early days was that a lot of horrible, disturbing things were going to come out. And who would want their daughters to be painted or portrayed in such a way? Even if they did potentially date a married man or whomever, nobody really wants their daughter to be remembered in that fashion. So, hello, Lisa. Hi, Alex. Negan with the 70s vibe. Thank you. Hi, Big Plants Little City. Hi, Shay Lowry. Thank you. Hi, Jen. Oh my God, did I catch my first live? Yay, welcome. Cheer Jen on. Thank you guys for making it to the live. I always love chatting with you guys. That being said, I'm doing my best to try to respond to some of your guys' comments. So now, Alex says, these girls posted up way too much, dressed like you know what. And I don't care how people dress. But I understand what you mean because, yes, of course, the way you dress is going to affect how people treat you. And that has led to some people to theorize, could they have been sugar babies? Could they have been followed by some OnlyFans? Could they have had some obsessive stalker? By the way, for people who are still mentioning or believing the false narrative that Mr. Koberger stalked these two, we've already heard the state. We have already heard Prosecutor Bill Thompson mention that Mr. Koberger did not stalk the victims. So, Kristen Kerr, welcome. Yay, I'm glad you caught a live from Ireland. That's so cool. Rex says, hoodie guy smells funny. McDeasy, the girlfriend at her party's behavior is extremely odd, almost like they were plotting. And the way the girlfriend glared at Maddie as she stood in front of the Jersey guy after Maddie hugged him. Don Vito says there's a lot of weird suspect people involved in this case. And that's what makes it so strange because for the most part, we have like a couple of people who may stand out. But when you have so many people that are just acting really strange, it makes you wonder, right? So, hi, Dale. Theodore says another nice outfit. The color fits you well. Thank you, Theodore. I appreciate it. Exactly. Sudi, is that how I say it? BK is not a stalker. No, he is not. Hi, Robert from the Burbs. Hi, I'm in downtown Chicago right now. Hi, Rachel says, first time I made a live. Love your channel. Ken says, you look out of sight. I don't know what that means. Like, oh, far away? Can you guys see me clearly? Either way, guys, please let me know. Make sure to vote in the comments, because the possibility of these girls, the victims, having somebody stalk them or be obsessed with them is very plausible. Or a passionate lover, which again brings me back to Mr. Eric Gower, because allegedly in one of the interviews that he gave, he mentioned something about this was a crime of passion. Why would you mention that? Again, this was really, really recent. Why is he giving interviews to people saying that he only lived 1,200 feet away from Mr. Kohlberger? Is it possible that Eric Gower was having some sort of relationship with one of the victims? A lot of things, in my opinion, are pointing to Eric Gower. But that's one of my very many theories. So we don't have to pick one yet. We don't have to settle at the end of the day. We have to remember that we have to wait until the trial actually begins to be able to see all of the evidence and make up our mind. So if you're one of those people that are like, oh my God, can you just pick one and just go with it? I don't want to. I don't want to. So you guys have a wonderful day. Enjoy your weekend. I'm actually going to be traveling for work again. So I will try my best to keep you guys posted the following week, but stay tuned. I might be doing lives at very random times. So we'll see you guys soon. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye. Eric Gower is a weirdo. Yes, Lisa.